productive meeting with a little bit more energy, all right? It's been a long day. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right. We have an agenda that Gianna and I have been working on. Before we get started, let's go around the room. Everyone introduce themselves, name, organization you represent. If you don't represent an organization, that's perfectly fine. Daryl Moss, Mayor's Office.
Gianna Allentuck, Elias Brookings Elementary School.
Adelaide Richey, PACE Family Resource Specialist.
Liz Farage, Community Outreach, PACE Division, Springfield Public Schools.
Marie Koski, Springfield Neighborhood Council.
Eddie Case, Sandy County Sheriff's Department.
Sharon Hall Smith, Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program at Gandara.
Jasenia Sanchez, Community Outreach for BNC Health Plan.
Governor Rivera, Office of Housing Services.
Wilda Sanchez, Vista Hab Housing, and Oak Hill Neighborhood Council.
Madam Lloyd, ACWA.
Jennifer T. and Sanford, School and Community Partnerships Department, Springfield Public Schools.
Dante Daniels High School, Commerce student.
Jaylee Santiago High School, Commerce.
John Rogers High School Commerce Graduation Coach.
Leo Florian, I run the program, mediation program for Health and Human Services. And I'm also here from the South End Citizens Council.
In the back row.
Which way?
Before we go that way, let's go to Justin.
Okay. Justin King from the Department of Youth Services.
Hi, I'm Daisy Reyes, Center for Human Development in collaboration with DYS.
I'm Nina Regan from the Center for Human Development. I'm the resource specialist for the Young Women's Center, a DYS program.
Hi, I'm Nicole Borden with the Springfield Department of Health and Human Services, the Mass Emotion Initiative.
I'm Mark Shapiro, I'm the rabbi at Sinai Temple.
I'm Claire Washer, I'm an AmeriCorps Vista at Hap Housing.
Armando Olivares, One Springfield Young People Stand Up.
I'm Debbie Hill, and I'm a current student at Cambridge College, and I'm trying to start an organization called Citizens Against Violence in Springfield.
Awesome.
Latonya Naylor from the United Way of Pioneer Valley.
Liz Ortiz from the City of Springfield Office of Housing.
Melissa Demmer from South Bay Mental Health.
Okay. Well, thank you. I know. Let's take a quick 2-second break. I'm going to grab some chairs there. Is that all right? No, let's get on the next agenda item.
Neighborhoods. So if we get to a neighborhood where we don't have an official representative from a council, if you live, work, operate, you drive through a particular neighborhood and you have information about it, then feel free to jump in and offer that information. What we're really trying to do is, I guess somebody taught me the lingo asset mapping. We're trying to figure out what's going on in the particular neighborhoods and what the needs might be in a particular neighborhood so that we can focus our efforts and borrow best practices from one neighborhood and maybe apply it to another neighborhood instead of, there's a lot of different groups and organizations doing a lot of the same great stuff. But we're thinking that maybe if we can get a nice picture of the city overall, because this is a citywide task force, maybe focusing in on what's going on in the individual neighborhoods and then bringing that together for the larger picture. How does that sound with everybody? Okay, so Mr. Florin, do you want to go first?
You want?
Okay, so just a quick snapshot, I don't know if you want to stand up so everybody can see you or whatever you're comfortable with. Just a quick snapshot, the neighborhood that you're representing, maybe some of the major things that might be going on in your neighborhood in terms of strategies or, networking that's going on, some of the things that you might need help with.
Okay. Again, I'm from the South End neighborhood, and it's been a real busy last couple of years in particular. 2 different ways. A lot of economic development going on. It's a small neighborhood. We've had our problems. But over the last couple of years, some of the things that have been happening is, trying to keep things sort of above board and keep things at a point where we could attract some positive things to come into the neighborhood. Starting with the businesses, housing, If you look, I mean, the neighborhood's small, but it consists of everything from the riverfront, with the riverfront development from Hall of Fame, everything all the way up to Maple Street. The riverfront, as you can see, is doing very well. East Columbus Avenue is doing very well. There's not much property left. From new developments, from the banks, there's a new hotel going up. I mean, from the economic development standpoint, the police auto business down here that's redoing their entire operation. Like I said, the new hotel. We're working towards Main Street. Main Street right now is what we're looking to clean up. And going back a couple of years, the property on Main Street, you couldn't give it away. Now, try to find a piece of property that's left that's available. In the Hollywood section, which was major focus when we talked about some of the areas that need some real special attention. The Hollywood area right now is being redeveloped in what, a $75, $77 million project, going through every apartment block down there, rehabbing it. But the concerns are, we have the Emerson White Park that was recently renovated, and the concern is, again, safety. And we met with the previous police commissioner and talked about that, a lot. And they says, what worked? Down in the neighborhood, what worked, what didn't work? Well, I'll tell you, and I know they keep telling us we're not going to see it again. When we had community policing, that worked. I mean, you knew the officers that were down there, they knew you. They knew who belonged, who didn't. If they saw a street light that was out, they made a phone call to get it fixed. I mean, you could really, and in the neighborhood council, we had business people and residents come in during that period and tell us, we can see a change, it's getting better. And as soon as we lost the community policing, it's unbelievable. Within a very, very short period of time, we went right back to where it was. So, in terms of what we would like to see or what we think would help us, obviously, and I'm sure every neighborhood is saying the same thing, we need more police presence. And not just driving through in a cruiser, we need them out. We need them out, we need them in cars, we need them walking down the streets. And, I see them going up and down Main Street. When I met with the commissioner, I says, how come I don't see them going down the side streets? The side streets where we know the trouble is. So, obviously, it's with the police. I mean, we have a major project coming in the neighborhood, potentially, with the casino. I mean, you're talking a whole game changer that would possibly be coming into that neighborhood. So we've had a number of concerns about what is that going to mean in terms of public safety. We met with the MGM people, we told them our concerns. Everything from installing a police substation right in one of the empty buildings on Main Street. So public safety is the #1 concern, exactly how we do it, police presence, and especially with summer coming up, we need more programs for the kids. The kids are hanging around, I see them every day. I'm back and forth, and I hate when I see, especially at night, the weather's warm, and they're out because it's warm outside. Inside the apartments, I can only imagine. They're outside, what is there for them to do? We need more programs for the kids. Exactly how we go about doing it. Our neighborhood council is very small, in terms of the number of people. There's only so much, time that you can put in. We need some help with some programs for the kids. And the thing that always got me where it was a shame, we redid the Emerson White Park. They spent almost, I think, $2 million in there. And I hate when I hear from the kids in the neighborhood, they don't feel safe going in the park. And that shouldn't be the case. We just got that done. If part of that should be we need security in the park, then we need security in the park. I mean, you got it there for the kids to utilize, and we have to hear they're afraid to go in. And that doesn't make any sense. So we got to figure out ways to clean that up and make it safe where the kids can come out of the apartments. And I don't know if any of you have been back there, but you're talking about 35 apartment buildings in a 6th Street little radius. So that big green space right there is needed, and we should figure out a way how we can get that done. So that's basically what's going on.
Dealing with the lighting issues, like on some of the back streets.
You can always use more lighting, and it's hard to keep track of everything, like what's working, what's not. In the Hollywood section, like I said, in particular, that Gordon Pulsifer who's redoing this project, he really is, he's really looking to take care of all of those all of those type of things. If we say, you know, we could use some more lighting over there, he's usually on top of it. But it's an issue, but probably not at the top of the list. Yep.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Florian. Who else is here representing a specific neighborhood? Is it Ann?
Yes.
Would you mind speaking next?
No, I'll be fine. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm representing the Armory Quadrangle Civic Association. And I live at Kimball Towers, 140 Chestnut Street, right near the Avalon Triangle. We don't seem to be having too many problems there, but the main problem is further down on Wilson Street. We definitely need more police. I agree with the gentleman who just spoke about community policing. We need to see more police on foot and in the cars. We have a very nice little park at the top of Pearl Street, the Armory Commons Park, which is just reopened for the summer, is doing very well, but we definitely need more police presence around there. Not to arrest people, but just to make sure that they're not letting in themselves. That's about it.
Are there any specific, it sounds like, in terms of Worthington Street connection, are you having any specific issues? Are people loitering in the area?
Well, Stern Square is always, Stern Square is always,
Stern Square?
it's a hangout place. And of course, during the summer, it gets very noisy. And also the motorcyclists, when they come in for the concerts, realize that there are residents around them.
How about with young people, any challenges with young people in the area?
No, we don't have a lot of young people around.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else we have in the announcements?
Oh, it's just.
Uh-oh. Anybody else? Okay. Yep.
And then I'm just going to interrupt you before you start. I apologize, I should have mentioned that we have friends here from Focus Springfield who are taping this just so that we can have, you know, a good idea of, you know, I'm taking notes and Bill's taking notes, but we want to just make sure that we're capturing everything that everybody has to say. If you have a concern about being on camera, yes, speak now or forever hold your peace, and we'll have you sit behind the camera. How about that? Is everybody okay with that? Okay. All right, thank you again, Focus Springfield. Okay, Hilda.
I live in the Oakville neighborhood. I've lived there for 25 years. We have our share of lots of things. I don't know where to start. We definitely need more police presence. We definitely need more things for our youth to do. I know that the police is aware of our certain hot spots in the neighborhood. I mean, they've been a hot spot for a while. I know that's not you.
Streets are an issue. If you're over in Old Hill, you know that Eastern Ave has been unpaved forever. You guys have an issue in terms of a number of neighborhood gang members that tend to hang out on some of the main street, more popular streets that are tied up in Pendleton, Ave, King Street is a hot spot area. Those are some of the challenges in terms of, if you don't mind me helping out.
No, I mean,
and in terms of like some of the positives, there are a number of neighborhood groups that have been going in there, Rebuild Springfield. They just did a number of houses and putting up some lots. So there's been, that's a good piece. There's a park over there that has just been cleaned as well. The other piece is that there are police officers that are not walking on the beat, but there's been increased police presence in Old Hill because I see them driving up and down the streets all the time. Sergeant Devon Williams and Officer Roberson, Sergeant Reggie Miller, they're constantly up and down those streets. The issue is finding safe ways. You have 2 recreational centers in that area, Martin Luther King Community Center and Dunbar Community Center. Problem is, they have, we talk about the gang wars everybody's reading about. It's a huge issue. Kids from that side of State Street won't cross over and go to MLK or the Acorn Street Boys and Girls Club because of neighborhood turf wars. We have the Dunbar, but then there's still a divide between the Old Hill area over from Eastern Ave up and down to the Dunbar area. So we're trying to find a way to kind of increase that. And I got a feeling that we're talking about limited youth activity. That's going to be a common theme across the board, so I'm going to make note of that. Did I miss out on anything? All right.
The new school, so Brookings is actually technically going to be over Old Hill. So that,
There's a tornado for that.
yeah, so that, you know, I'm representing Brookings, so I'd like to think that that's going to be a really big positive for Old Hill. There will be, you know, new park area behind Brookings School. We've had several conversations about how to keep that park area safe. And so that will just be another kind of in the planning stages of the park. I know the school is being built, so, but that's a positive.
I'm from Commerce, which is in the neighborhood, and that was a big concern, the shooting at Burger King. The janitor actually ducked and closed him over his head, he was crossing the kid that was ready to dismissal. I mean, the police did a wonderful job, and, you know, those shootings on Union Street and Burger King really impacted our dismissal that day. Is exactly when it happened, and, yeah, bullets were flying everywhere.
And what we're going to do is we're going to let all the folks who are here representing the neighborhood councils share their statement. If everyone has questions, chime in. If there are suggestions, or if you represent an agency or organization that can assist in any capacity, feel free to share that the same way we did with the Florida Parks Association.
Marie Cox. Yeah, from East Springfield Neighborhood Council, and our president Kathy Brown has been part of this task force since its inception. But I'm here in her place today. And we are one of the smaller neighborhoods in terms of population. And we're a neighborhood watch neighborhood. People are looking out for each other. We have well-attended monthly meetings with our community police, the code enforcement. So we're kept up to date on what's going on. Our biggest problems are Mallory Village is across from Potcher School. Very densely populated. I think 90% of the homes there are absentee landlords, most of them from Boston, New Jersey, anywhere but not even in Western Mass. So there's little concern about what's happening in the neighborhood. We are fortunate to have a couple of good code enforcement police officers in our neighborhood that will go around, and they do try to keep an eye on Mallory Village. Another big issue in their neighborhood is speeding, drag racing on Page Boulevard, heading down into Indian Orchard area, and also just speeding on St. James Avenue, Cruise Street. On that curve, we have about an accident a week. One of the bigger red X's on the map for high traffic problems. And I guess those are the big things. You know, we don't have a lot in the neighborhood. We have Marshall Roy Field, which is open, used constantly for baseball, soccer, lacrosse. I don't know, it's in constant use. And then there's the little spray park that they put in a few years ago, which we were really happy about. But other than that, there's not a real lot in the neighborhood for us, for the kids, for the youth.
Okay. Thank you. You guys also have a slight issue with basketball courts in the street in some of the areas.
Yeah, people complain about that a little bit. On the side streets.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other neighborhood councils here? That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rest. Now, does anybody have any questions for the 4 representatives that we do here, that we do have here, rather?
I have a question.
Okay, perfect.
I understand there's Dunbar and then there's MLK, and I'm aware of the YMCA, that they do percentages according to your income for allowing your children to go to the YMCA. I have spoke to some people on the internet, and they feel it's a struggle to put their children in programs because some of them are like myself, single parents, on low income. With poverty being as it is right now, they feel it's very difficult to put multiple children into programs. I don't know if this is even an idea, but sliding scale fees to work with families, I understand the 65% is wonderful. I mean, I use it. What could be done? How could we raise money for something like this? Some families are working 2 jobs, and when you're leaving one child that's maybe 10, 12 years old to take care of your younger children, or even teenagers to take care of younger children, that's where you're going to find problems. You're leaving children to take care of children. And if there was some kind of youth groups within the housing authorities, when I lived in Birch Park Circle in West Springfield, within that housing authority, there was a youth center where the kids could do homework. They had activities they could do there. It's a thought. I mean, I don't know how the funding could be raised. I know it's an idea, but I don't know if it would be even possible or if it would just be redundant, because you guys already have the YMCA, you have MLK, you have the one across the street from State Street. But when you have families that are just trying to pay rent and trying just to put food on the table.
Are you talking about the voucher programs or the after-school programs? Or?
Not vouchers, but...
No, in terms of what they already offer. Like in Dunbar, they have free drop-in times for young people.
I never even knew about that, but I realized that there's families that have more than one child. And then when you can't even afford to put 2 in and you have 5 children, what do? You know what I mean? How do you afford to put multiple kids, and especially teens, in programs that are positive without something negative happening?
We're not going to be able to answer that today.
Oh,
I'm glad you put it up.
I don't expect the answer. I really have some answer.
As far as like where you're saying that like the YMCA, they give a certain voucher or do the fee scale. As a health insurance, the EMC Health Net offers our mass health members up to $200 reimbursement of whatever they pay. So that's also help that's put out there as well.
I'm glad you said that because I didn't know that.
I didn't even know about that.
I've never heard that.
I never even knew that. And when people don't know these things, they can't utilize them.
You want to repeat it?
So, for our Mass Health members, if you have AMC Health Net plan with Mass Health, we will reimburse you up to $200 for whatever fitness center you go to for the family. And it doesn't coincide with anything that center gives you. So for example, if you do the fee scale with the YMCA, that they give you whatever grant it is that they give you, and you have a difference of, let's say, $190 that you have to pay, we'll reimburse you for those $190 that you pay them.
Would that cover like an after-school program? Would that cover
whatever the YMCA covers as a fitness member?
That's a fitness membership. But what about
which is a Y membership?
With some of the other programs, and you say right next to Miss United Way, you should try to contact really strongly encourage people as that meetings want to talk about that as well. Tell folks to call 211 because it's people assume that all the services are paid programs, like you mentioned, Dunbar and MLK. MLK is all free programming with the exception of the after-school programs and vouchers. And they do have a sliding scale for family members. So there are a number of organizations out there that provide them. There are a number of smaller organizations. Polymorphs.
Yes,
YSEP. For teenagers, she offers programs. If you can't afford it, she gets you in anyways. And she'll do what she can, do whatever it takes to get it happen, to make it happen. But what we really need folks to do, and I encourage you to take this back to folks that you know, people have to do due diligence. You have to find out what agencies and organizations are out there. Because there are a number of programs out there. In the Rochie area, we have church out there. They do a lot of work with young people. They take them out to the rec centers. They'll provide transportation, meals. So there are programs and services. We just have to do a better job of coordinating and make sure the information gets out to the public. Yes.
Maybe it's possible that at the next meeting,
Yeah.
those agencies like the Boys and Girls Clubs, the Y, you can have a representative and they can join here so that they can probably share those ideas, or maybe even have it in a single page or who the contact person it is, especially because summer is coming, it's around the corner for the families in the area.
Right. But with the single page, everything is on 211. The United Way tells you every organization in the region. The Boys and Girls Club, we have a rep who's normally here at every meeting. MLK is typically here. There used to be an active member for the Dunbar. So we do have some of those around the table. We're going to try and do a better job, make sure that people kind of share the resources and share the information that the agencies and programs provide. Like that information is really good information. Now that I got it, I'll probably, it's going to be really good.
I know. Yes, I did call them. I did call MLK to speak with them about volunteering there.
Okay.
And they said they offer a few different good things to interact with the youth of that area. And I was really interested in working with them with that. And I wasn't aware of the other things within the city because I'm really not from Springfield.
Okay.
But I appreciate you telling me that.
Not a problem. Samantha Hamilton should be here. She had texted me and said she's running late. She had another meeting. But she'll give you all the information. Okay, she gets it. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say I'm listening to, and I'm familiar with a lot of the programs that different agencies offer, but I'm forgetting, I haven't heard anything yet about programs for come up with a solution to deal with the young people that do not go to certain specific programs. And those are the ones that will stay, the ones that go to school, they got programs, they go here, they go there. But then we have another type of youth out there that will not be turned on by the Y or the MLK. And those are the ones that are on the street. Those are the ones that will get into gangs, will get into selling drugs. So we have to think of some solutions. We have a lot of programs for different types of kids, but I don't think we're touching upon the ones that are out there that we need to work with to get them out of that.
That's not, that we haven't talked about it, because we're going to wait and let them come in another day, let the folks who wait come in and talk about what they do. I'll speak on behalf of the okay, because it's working. I'd probably say strong, almost 90% of the kids who attend their programs in the evening are affiliated with the Ave, Knox Street, Sycamore. They're in there, they play ball, and they're active. When I look at what Shalon Brown and Juwan Brown does, even with the outreach, they work with kids from just about every set in the city. They do trauma response, they do home visits, they, take them to job appointments. So we do have, do we have enough of those services? No. The AIM program at the YMCA, one of the best programs in the city, they have kids from every set in every neighborhood, and they actively recruit those kids. So I think what we have to do is a better job in terms of creating awareness, because all too often I'm on Facebook, and I hear over the last 2 weeks people have been saying what's not happening, and after a while you're tired of typing what is happening. Again, I strongly encourage folks, before we say that we don't have something, we need to create strategies and programs on top of existing programs. I think we need to utilize what we have. We need to do a better job of researching the existing programs, and I strongly encourage people, call 211 or go online and look it up and see what programs are being offered. One of the things we're working on a funding source now for the Parks Department, since it's like we kind of detoured over into outreach. Right now, we're trying to work with the Parks Department so that we will have at least 2 schools in hopefully in every neighborhood across the city for the next school year. Because we need evening programs. We're trying to open the doors and reevaluate some of the incoming funding sources that we have now that are geared around public safety and gang prevention and intervention. we found out that with the Parks Department now, how many people realize that the Parks Department, they service almost 2,000 kids throughout the year. So while we say that there's nothing happening and they're not reaching kids, a lot of those kids are getting involved. They don't walk around with a label saying, I'm a member of the Latin Kings, I'm a member, I'm solid, or I'm not. They just walk in and we assist them.
That's
And
right.
it's not until we engage them, we find out that, some of these kids are, his kids over in DYS. And over the years, I don't know how many kids I've worked with that were actually in DYS. And it wasn't until we had conversations, it was like, oh, I know you're a caseworker. But, so my point is, before we say what we don't have, Gianna talked earlier about asset mapping. I'm hoping that over the long term, the task force can do some serious asset mapping so we can figure out what exists. We have those programs and services that are documented, and I think the only one capturing that information right now are you guys. Parks Department, I found out they also have an extensive list. They have a listing of folks that aren't recognized 501c3s, but they are folks who are doing great work. And they share that list with families as well. And I know there's folks who connect, so they can kind of merge those two lists. So we do have tons of programs, but in order to do that, we have to figure out what the challenges are. And that's why we brought the neighborhood council folks. In the meantime, I'll be hitting out all the remainder of the neighborhood councils along with Ed Whitley to find out where the challenges are, especially as they pertain to young people and families. Again, when we talk about public safety, we're not just talking about the kids. We're also talking about families. We're talking about the young adults. A lot of these folks who are engaging in street violence, I know a lot of folks showed up because they want to know what are we doing about the street violence. Folks need to know the stronger majority of those folks who have been targeted or impacted by gang violence, they're not children.
That's right.
And they're not in our schools. These individuals at 18 and over, they've been out of school for a while. At the age of 27, 28, I was raising a family. And some of these individuals are my age. I'm not saying we don't service them, but we have to determine what types of services will be needed for the folks in that age bracket. And what we need to do in terms of prevention and intervention, how we can complement the services that already exist, and how we can take a really good look at them, evaluate their programs and strategies, and figure out what modifications are necessary. That's what we need to do, and we're hoping that that's the direction that the task force will go in at some point. When again, we have all the experts around the table. We would need to take a look at all the existing agencies and organizations. Let's take a look at the strategies. Most folks are more than willing to accept and embrace the help. We have 4 members of the neighborhood councils here. Trust me, our neighborhood councils across the city, excellent work. If people only knew what was happening in their neighborhoods, and when you look at the streets being paved and properties being kept up, you have no idea what we're saying that nothing's happening. Our neighbors are working hard next door to make sure that our streets are paved, yards are cleaned and picked up, making sure that illegal businesses are not operating in the neighborhoods. Someone's doing that. So what we're hoping the task force can do is assist these neighborhoods, assist the 17 neighborhood councils and civic associations with the work they're doing, because we have everyone around the table, educators, social workers, you name it, we have it. So I don't want to get on the soapbox and give a speech, but again, I'm strongly encouraging folks, we need to kind of shift the way we think, shift the work that we're doing, and figure out how we can really contribute citywide to kind of decrease the violence.
I brought these two because one of the things I think our group and me and Gianna have talked about this is moving forward is getting more students here so that when there are services and programs available, that the kids can then go back to the schools and get the information out to the young people. Because if the adults are aware of the programs that are available, that's one thing, but then getting the kids to act, the students to actually, these two are two of my best getting information out ones in the school and help everything.
Okay.
So, I think if we can move towards getting representation from the schools and at least hitting like some of the students, even your guy that we were talking about, I remember getting him into the lifeguard training at the Y and getting the job there, doing all, there's a lot of different things that we need to get out to students to keep kind of pushing them, help push them in another direction. But I mean, it's getting that information out to the kids, and that's why particularly the high schools and middle schools, we can actually, we have to get the kids aware and signing up and doing it. Because the adults know why. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? I'm sorry. Just helping getting information out to young people, what's going on, Yeah. Like Roca, for example, hardcore gang members that are in school, I send them over there, you know what I mean? And, there's definitely things out there, but we gotta make sure that people and families in the school is a good vehicle to do that.
Absolutely. I think, before I go to you, Tanya, I think you had your hand up a while back.
I did, and I want to say you probably answered my question or probably said what I was going to say and cover that area, but really, just speaking from the United Way standpoint, that we fund over 100 agencies locally. And a lot of those agencies do a lot of these programs that we say aren't happening. I agree with you. The biggest issue that we're seeing is the transportation problem. Because even if there are programs like my kids go to Peru Street Boys and Girls Club, but I have to bring them there because I just do, and I want them to be somewhere that's safe, and then I know I can trust that they're going to be taken care of. So that's the bigger issue that we're starting to see now come up. And the other piece is that they're creating, because of the funding cycle that we just had geared around teen pregnancy, health, and education, the biggest focus we've looked at is the middle school age, because that was the age that was being left out, because once they turn 12, now they're not a voucher, their parents don't get a voucher anymore, so we've started with funding those programs specifically to start at that age group so that we can hold on to them, because what's happening, again, is that middle school age, once they lose interest, they don't want to go to a program. They're a high school student, they're eligible, there's a drop-in program, but a lot of them decide they don't want to, or their parents decide, oh, we're going to make it babysitters now because it's free, it's cheaper. If I just keep the kids at home and have the older kid babysit. But if we can get funding for those students, we're finding now that a lot more of them are staying in the programs, and their parents are trying to figure out how do we keep our kids in the program now. So that's becoming more of a positive. So the other piece of it, which is probably not happening, is we really would like to see more collaborations. So where you see gaps and where you see holes, it's nice for the agencies or people who want to create or be a part of an agency to say, hey, let's do this, let's come up with an idea, let's pitch it to the United Way and see if they would fund us, because this is something that we know the community needs and that is lacking. And the biggest thing is young men being mentored or helped, and not just in the capacity of a teenager, but even a young man. There's a lot of programs for young women where they mentor them and teach them how to be professional. They have a young mother's mentoring program that I'm a part of now. And so they have a lot of stuff from women, but there's a lot of things that they don't have for young men. And we're talking young adult men, 20 years old, 21 years old. There's not as much for them. So we would like to see people create something and pitch it to us and say, this is something that we have an idea for, we want to do, can you help us out? Because there is that opportunity and there is a gap there. And that's one thing people are not aware of with the United Way, is that if you come up with something that there's an obvious gap and you can figure out how you can help solve that problem, we have no problem working with you. So we have our standard grants that we do, the education grants, the basic needs grants, and the income grants. But aside from that, we have community initiative money as well that's sitting there for if people need it. And if there's a program idea that people have, then they come to us and say, we need help in a certain area. And we've been working with a lot of programs to really pitch that, focus on that stuff.
So agencies, organizations, they know that you have a way of funding. If you have a program that is worth funding. Sir.
Armando Olivares, and when Springfield Young People Stand Up. I'm 20 years old, and I'm a firm believer that communication from young people to young people is powerful. Our movement was launched last Thursday, and we had almost 200 people there present, and more than half the audience were under the age of 25, which is amazing due to the recent violence in the city. No one has been over the age of 23. Our movement prioritizes the obvious role that young people are playing in the city of Springfield, and it's not a good one as of right now. We also prioritize the fact that parents need to get more involved and build more trustworthy relationships with their kids. What do they do once they find out that their kid is about to jump off the deep end or already has? What proper channels do they contact? What do they do in order to not push their kid into the judicial system right away? A lot of parents don't want to put their kids through the criminal justice system. But besides the criminal justice system, there are so many other options that you can pursue. So when Springfield Young People Stand Up, it was launched by myself along with the help of some amazing people. And I feel like the city, and everyone in the city, every part of the city of Springfield can agree on that we need more youth empowerment programs. We need more young leaders. We need more young people to be mentors to these guys. Like the lady said, what about these kids that just have the street mentality and no one can get it out of them because their upbringing was just horrible? And a lot of young people are not as fortunate as others. Some really have tough upbringing to where everything they're doing now in life is everything that they've seen, and it's really everything they know. So how do we reach those people? How do we reach their hearts? How do we reach their minds? And in my opinion, we connect with people that have been in their shoes and now have their life, and now have got rid of that mentality that the street is all I know. In other words, a mentorship. We need more mentorship programs. I work with Mark Mitchell out of the Sheriff's Department. I'm doing the mentorship program through the Sheriff's Department. And we need more programs like Mark Mitchell's programs. We need more people that have been there and done that in order to connect with those young people that are still there and doing that and thinking that that's all there is in life when there's so many other things in life. My movement has been connecting with the Hampton County Board of Employment. Young people need more to do. That's obvious. Young people have too much time on their hands. They need much more to do. And we are open to work with any and everyone in the city of Springfield that has the same drive that we do to make it a safer and a better place. So like she said, collaborations, more of that needs to happen. We need to stop specifying certain neighborhoods because they're happening in the Latino neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods, the white neighborhoods. Everything is happening everywhere. More neighborhoods than others, but it's happening in the city. So one Springfield Young People Stand Up is open to collaborate with anyone and everyone that has the drive that we have to make the city a better place. Young people need to stand up and be humble to the fact that we have been the problem and we are the heart of the city and we are going to be the solution.
Yes.
I respectfully have to disagree with you, young man. Our youth in the streets, they come from parents with good homes. Their mentality is not just the streets. So first of all, we as people have to stop labeling folks. So you cannot look, I don't know, that cannot be. So that's all wrong. And what's happening is you gotta figure out how to attract the people that's causing you to sit here. So you're talking about all this good stuff is good, but you gotta talk about how to help the young people outside that are shooting and why you're afraid. They need a job, how about that? So all y'all, Mr. Darrell is right. Y'all big time at the table. My baby girl over there is throwing money at y'all. So y'all creating a project for the young people to work. Because these young people, young men that you say are bad, they have great credit. They are non-felons. Y'all trying to make them all be felons. And you're labeling them rival gang members and drug dealers. That's crazy. They educated and they have better credit than most of y'all. I mean, I don't know what your credit score is, I'm just saying. But we gotta do something a little different.
Actually, you just said the same thing
that I just said.
That he just said.
Oh, well,
yeah.
I heard something. Okay, that's good. He's younger than me.
We should work together because I love your passion.
God bless you.
We gotta work together. God bless you.
Oh, ladies.
You said it in a way that people that aren't in a community higher up professional way, like a person from me, from a regular standpoint, would understand. If you went from the streets and came in here and somebody else tried explaining the way he did, and you explain it to the other people that aren't normally here. You put it in a way that they would understand.
Young woman, who are you? I'm Deborah Fletcher. I'm a retired hustler by choice. No prosecutions, no convictions, no violations.
I gotta, we gotta bring it back.
Sorry.
I didn't say
God bless you.
Alright, just so folks know, we're really like a working group. So for those who are first time, it's not like a community forum. It's a working group. No, don't apologize.
I apologize.
Sometimes we gotta let everybody know so we're all on the same page. We're a working group. We brought the neighborhood council to figure out what the challenges are. At the same time, we were also trying to establish what the capacities are for each of the neighborhoods. I think that's critical. A lot of times we speak about neighborhoods that we're not all that familiar with, and we need to be familiar with the neighborhoods. Nobody knows better than the neighborhood council folks. The other thing we had on there, neighborhood reports. Does anybody have any questions for the folks in the neighborhood councils?
Is there any?
Yes, Carlos.
Just in addition to neighborhood councils, I think that some of the
opportunities that young people are looking for that are jobs. And if you can't find them, you create them. And some of these kids are entrepreneurial. And Junior Achievement did a statistics on young people, and over 78% of them prefer to have their own job. Not that all of them are gonna have their own job by starting their own business, but the reality is some entrepreneurial programs, not only recreational and sometimes only educational, but entrepreneurial programs can sometimes connect with the young people because they wanna learn to make money. And connecting with Facebook, listen, you can, I just met a young lady from Chicago. She was visiting here. Her job is to go to restaurant and blog about the food that she eats. She eats free all over Chicago. I said, how old are you? She's 22 years old. I said, I had a day job, I left this, and that's all she does. And they pay her to blog about the restaurants all over Chicago. That's a really good job. A young lady, that's not cheap. Just entrepreneurial programs to add to the mix of things.
No, I think that's perfect. I think economic development and public safety go hand in hand. If crime one hand, and public safety the other. A lot of the neighborhoods that we work with, economically challenged neighborhoods, and jobs aren't exactly coming into your area the way they used to. The industrial age is over. Service-oriented jobs, high-tech jobs. And the thing is, there's a market, but we got to teach young people to get to the point where they create those opportunities for themselves. Yes.
Just because you said that, I know I was just speaking with the regional employment board is right next door to us in United Way. We're right on Main Street, and they have a big class that's coming up for customer service training. It's free. It's like an 8-week program, and it's designed to help people that graduate get a job between 10 and 15
$12 to
hours.
$15 an hour at Hoyer Community College.
They have that with the community college. They have one at Stick, and then they actually have other programs as well that they're doing. And so what I was told by a woman from the Red was that they have thousands of dollars for grants to help people do training for job development, and they can't get people to do the job development training. So the money's sitting there, $5,000 a pop. People that are disabled, people that are just lost their job, wrongfully terminated, people that was laid off by some of these big companies like ITT, Excelis that left. And there's money there, and they need people to come to Career Point, come to FutureWorks, and sign up so that they can get access to this money for the training. So I'm glad you said that.
That's good stuff. Yes, John.
It's for Career Point and FutureWorks.
I was just thinking, Latonia, and about, Regional Employment Board and United Way, we're hearing now that there is money, like you've been saying to us, but I think, this might be one of the action items that we can focus on for the task force anyway, in terms of, I think maybe we need to have a workshop on how to approach United Way, how to approach REV, because a lot of us sitting around the table have these great ideas, like Deb has a great idea, about, maybe, programs in the community. But Deb doesn't know how to contact. Yes. And what are you going to need when you go to United Way? You're going to need to have a measurable goal. You're going to need to have a budget. You're going to need to have, materials that you're going to need. All the things that some of us know in terms of presenting a proposal when you're looking for money. But a lot of us don't, and a lot of us out there don't either, and even just the individuals from the neighborhoods themselves. So, we can maybe table it, or we can, pitch it as an idea to the task force, but I definitely think a workshop on how to access these grants that we're hearing about is recommended.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, actually, for some of you folks who came in after we did our introductions, can you just, like Deborah, I'm so glad you're here, that's so great. So can you just tell us your name, Deborah?
I'm Deborah Fletcher from Ward 4.
I'm Carlos Gonzalez with the Massachusetts Latino Chamber of Commerce, and we try to, part of the youth program that we do is youth entrepreneurship program.
Hilda Santa from the Greater Springfield Habitat for Humanity. I'm the Family Sources Coordinator.
Is there anybody that we did it in terms of?
So before we jump to action plan, Claire, did you bring the power up? It's kind of an action there also. The power up flyer.
I did.
Okay, because Armando and Dawn, there's a lot of people here who are representing youth. So Power Up is a fabulous workshop that's going to be happening at City Hall on Friday, June 27th. It's free, and it's for youth ages 16 to 22.
Yeah.
And so our young people from Commerce, they can take advantage of their world. Armando and anybody else, Claire brought enough copies for everybody. It is.
Good. I can email it to you, yeah.
But just as kind of a, that's one action we can take right now, which is this is a free workshop on youth leadership and empowerment. We've got people around the table who can connect and recruit those youth and make it happen for them so that we can sustain throughout the year, getting them more involved, connecting them with people like Armando and Dawn around the table. So Claire, if you want to hand those out now, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And Claire is the person responsible for coordinating. Justin, do you want to take the flyer with you?
All right, it's good to be.
Yes. Yes.
Do you have it in Spanish?
Yep, I know. But I can, we should work on it.
Can you help us turn it into Spanish?
Oh,
I really I don't know how we didn't think of that.
I will, I'll help you.
We got this. That's the first action item. See, we're working already.
I also want to note that City Councilor Tim Allen was here for a while. I think he stepped out. I just want to let folks know that City Council Tim Allen was here.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is more related towards safety initiatives. We have a task force starting at the Oldham Neighborhood Council. We're going to have these community meetings, and one of our goals is to see if there's somehow we can start a neighborhood watch or any kind of anything that could help with taking back our neighborhoods and the police. And I was just wondering, I know we're close to meetings and we are, but we don't have anything officially organized. That's like a real big project, but it's really something we would love to.
Well, not a difficult task at all. Sheriff's Department, that's where they do so much in the community. They've been helping neighborhoods establish neighborhood watch programs for years. Ed, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot.
No, but what we want to do is, we're going to meet with Commissioner Barberry because like the Mason Square Initiative is up there.
Yep.
So we don't want everybody all over the place. We want to work together. So we want to sit with Commissioner Barberry and find out how our coordinators can work with the police and can work with the initiative up in the Mason Square Initiative to engage all the councils to work with us, but to engage the community so we can all come together as one big team rather than a bunch of little silos. So. But I would like to get your information. You must know Adrienne. I know she works in the Upper Hill, but do you know her?
Well, I work for the building.
Yeah, could you give me your contact information?
And Ed,
Okay, good.
I got you guys.
All right.
I just want to say, so I don't represent the neighborhood, but I worked in the neighborhood for about 40 years, same neighborhood. The north end, I know there's nobody here representing the north end, but the north end has some serious problems before, and they do have the first initiative. The north end is the model.
C3.
Of the
Oh, absolutely.
initiatives.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, and they have the school problems and absentees and the drugs and the gangs and everything else. So, but now, since they got together, everybody, and they got everybody around the table every Thursday morning, and starting to, the school got better, everything, because everybody's there around the table. So one of the things that I think that's gonna work in neighborhoods is by doing the same thing. Getting everybody together and dealing with all the issues, the principals, the schools, and the daycares, everybody. Because it affects everybody. And I also want to make one other comment that I always make, I've been making it since I was young. I'm still going to make it on that and it always bothered me, and it still bothers me. Now we talk, and I know there's 50 million programs out there. But I always say, what about the good kids? What do we got to offer the good kids? The ones that are struggling to go to school, the ones that are struggling to continue on to college, the ones that are, the parents got low-paying job, but they're still pushing those kids the right way. But nobody talks about that. Nobody, I don't feel that we recognize them at all. Nobody mentions them because they're good. But the minute a kid turns around and goes the other way, everybody wants to do something, programs, everybody. And I always say that, what about the good kids? Why don't we give the good kids also credit? Yeah, kids are all good, it's just that some take the wrong track. But there's some that no matter what happens at the household, no matter what kind of parents they have, and where they come from, single parent, they still continue the right path. And nobody talks about those kids. I think it's time that we still start recognizing those kids to encourage them even more, because those kids might be able to talk to these other kids and try to get them on track. And I always said that, and I continue saying, but you know what? I haven't seen the day where anybody sat around the table and said, let's talk about all those good kids and let's do this for them, because they're doing this and they do this and they deserve it. And that's what I want to say.
Yes.
It's like an educational model. Sometimes when you have one child that understands something, have that one child sit down with the child that doesn't understand the topic. And then when they work together in a group, that one child can explain it to the other child that doesn't understand something. So if we take those good kids, bring them into some of these meetings, like they have over there, these young ladies and gentlemen here, and make them exemplary kids, they're going to go out and explain things to the other kids that may bring those other kids that aren't on the right path on the right path.
So they can see the light.
Yes,
I'm not saying, no, but there's a kid that they should say, yes, there's something else there. I'm out there, I'm going here, I'm going there. And my granddaughter, when I graduate next year, but she's already picking colleges. So we're gonna make sure she gets there. I don't care how, but she's gonna get there.
All right, on that note, and I agree with you 100%. Just quickly, we're going to segue over to Gianna. We talk about the action plan and we'll use the village talking about it. But you're absolutely right. Got a couple of calls to the meeting this past week. They wanted to talk about the violence on the street. Me personally, I prefer not to, because I think the more we do that, the more we talk about the 4, 5, 6, 7 kids who are really acting up, we totally devalue the work of all the good kids who are doing great things. And Springfield has this horrid reputation, and some of us who are in the media, social networks, we're contributing to it because we're making a sweeping indictment of all the young people based on the actions of a few. And I think that's something that we collectively need to be careful about when we do that, because we have so many positive young people. So I agree with you 100%. With that, let's segue over to Gianna.
So some of the feedback that we've been getting from previous meetings has been around, we have all these amazing people doing these amazing projects and activities and programs and sharing resources and information. We just need to take these meetings to the next level, which is come up with some action items. For a while, we were sending out the minutes and we were kind of hiding the action items within those. Not everybody has time to read the minutes and look at the action item and report back. And so we're trying to build a consistency of people around the table, organizations. But we also want to have you all leaving here feeling like you're leaving to do something that can feed into the mission and the vision, which is the collaborations and the collectivity and the sharing of the resources. So I think at this point, we can just kind of take a moment. We've already had a couple of action items put out on the table. So maybe we can just lay them down, and we can also put, you know, person responsible next to them, or persons responsible next to it. So again, that you can leave here knowing, okay, this is what I need to do, whether it's in a week or 2 weeks or by the next meeting, just so that we can keep it moving. My principal always says, keep it moving, you know, do what you gotta do, keep it moving, and make sure that we're connecting with each other. So I know that Wilda and Ed, who both are not sitting here right now, but I'm gonna put their names down anyway. Wilda and Ed are gonna check in with each other about a neighborhood watch program or group in Old Hill. So Ed or Wilda, neighborhood watch in Old Hill. And if anybody is used to doing this or has a suggestion for how to do this better, again, speak now, or, you know, but I think we just want to kind of get ourselves in the habit of leaving here with action items. Does anybody feel like they want to jump up and facilitate this?
No, you're familiar with it.
Okay, all right, so good. That was the next action item.
That's the action
You
item.
guys, yes. Okay, who else? I know we had a couple other things.
It's translate this in Spanish.
Beautiful. Oops.
And do you have your information in Spanish and in English?
What information is that?
Did you have a flyer?
This one?
No, you talked about your organization, Strung Up, right? One Springfield Young?
Yes.
Do you have that translated in Spanish as well?
I do, but I don't need today.
Okay. If you could just forward that to us, that would also be beneficial.
Okay, and that's another great action. And can somebody, because there are a lot of new faces.
You want me to set up, start the email?
Yeah, if you guys can just list your email or your phone number and your email, that would be great. Thank you. And thank you for that. So we're going to update, this would be Gianna, update, mailing this. Everybody's going to check out 211. Done.
Okay, I have obviously taken Santiago and Dr. Daniels with me, but what I will do is go back to the high schools and get each high school to designate two students from the high school, you know, in Springfield, so that they can start coming to meetings and being part of this, if that works for you, so that we can, I think that would be a great way to get, you know, just, it should be, you know, it's an honor, I think, to be selected by your, you know, school, and I think I'll coordinate that if not high school.
Thank you, Don. So Don is high school reps. SPS. Yeah, that would be amazing. And then Don and Armando and a couple other folks, you guys are going to take the Power Up flyer and application back to your respective worlds and see if you can recruit. Okay. So I'm just going to put all because anybody is welcome to take that flyer back. So share.
Is this limited to Springfield residents?
Yeah, for right now.
Okay.
It is just those people. Primarily, but if you have someone really in mind who you think would benefit, absolutely.
So we've got all sharing Power Up flyers and recruitment that is happening in a couple of weeks. So I think the deadline, it's a soft deadline, but the deadline for applications to get in is June 20th, which is a Friday. That just allows us enough time to get food, in order for them to get prepped. If somebody comes to you on June 22nd and says, oh, I want it, then come on, bring them down, okay? Yes, Deb?
I could drop some of these off at the YMCA in Springfield
On
on Chestnut Street, because I'm sure there's a lot of teen youth that would probably want to be part of this.
Anybody else think of stuff that we, we're throwing around a lot of ideas?
Invite, I talked about this, inviting the Dunbar Community Center, MLK, Boys and Girls Club to be here and to do a quick, 1-minute presentation of the services, bring applications, so that we can have that in hand.
Okay.
It's a refresher for, especially for after-school programs and Summer programs.
So summer and after school
Yes.
refresher. Yeah, because usually, I mean, there's usually a representative from our major organizations around the table. Given that it's, you know, the middle of June almost, I can understand why they're not here today. But yeah, so a refresher on what is available for after school and summer, particularly summer since, you know, again, it's mid-June. So, I'm gonna put orgs, youth, and family orgs. Refresher on summer and after school offerings. I think we can table two or, you know, throw out here maybe creating a we will be having our leadership luncheon. It's our fourth annual leadership luncheon, community leadership luncheon in August. It's fabulous. We do it down in Howard Street, Sheriff's Department, and we've had probably 100+ leaders and all of you coming to this event and just, again, hearing what is going on from the task force end of things. And this year we're hoping to get a lot more legislators there so we can start to amp up, you know, funding from the state and the federal level, right on down to, you know, our local level with United Way. So,
Can I just make a suggestion about that? For example, we said, you know, Dante and Jimmy, like at that luncheon, we did name the kids from the high schools, and that would be a good way for them to be recognized and start the school year off with the whole initiative and be part of that.
beautiful.
Okay.
Beautiful. So it'll be stuff like that, like brainstorming. So if you think you might want to be on the planning committee for that, it is not time intensive. It's just coming up with great ideas like that and then just going off and doing it. Because we already have a template, we already have a venue. Sodexo has donated the food every, you know, so it's not time intensive to help with the planning of this event. So if you think you might be interested, we just get a show of hands. Okay, so
Show hands for what?
to be on the planning team for the leadership luncheon, which is in August. I think it's the fourth.
29th, you said, right?
It's the fourth. I don't know if everybody, you all have calendars ready at your fingertips. It's the fourth Thursday in August. We're all back in school, so.
That's the 28th.
Okay, so hands again, so Dawn, Daisy, Jacinia, Deb, Melissa, is your hand up, Melissa?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then in that, along those same lines, this would also be our fourth annual Springfield Unites, which is just, it used to be a gathering in Forest Park. We just invited anybody and everybody, and it was kind of potluck. You just bring your, you know, snacks or bring your dinner or whatever you have you. We were supposed to do it next Tuesday, June 17th, given that it's June 10th today, and we have not really made any movement towards that. I'm going to throw it out to the task force. How would you feel about moving into July? Can we get a show of hands if anybody is okay with moving into July?
Okay.
Okay, and again, it's I think we were talking about this year doing it right at Brookings School because we have the water splash playground, the basketball court, and the jungle gyms, and then the park area, there's a little pavilion. Rather than try and have people go into Forest Park where you had to pay to get in, some people couldn't figure out where you were. It was a lot more complicated than it needs to be. So we were thinking of just having it at Brookings School in that park area. Is anybody interested in being on that planning? Okay, Deborah?
Yes.
Deborah Fletcher.
Oh, okay.
Deborah F. Senia. Again, it's not time intensive because it's really kind of we just want to say, hey, come on out on this day, this time. You know, bring some snacks if you want, bring a blanket. One year my son played the guitar. You know, it's been assorted each year. One year we had Zumba. Nothing fancy, just a way to get everybody together. So I've got Deborah Fletcher and I've got Jacinia. Sharon. Yep. Sorry, Sharon. Your hair is your hair usually pulled back? Okay, anybody else? Anybody else for Springfield United's planning? Okay. As far as the workshop on, like a tutorial, however we want to call it, regarding how to access grants, who's got the grants, how do you access them, what do you need when you're going to an organization that you're applying for funding? Anybody interested in kind of tentatively, okay, Armando, so this is, what do we call it, funding workshop?
Maybe you can invite Carlos Gonzalez from the Latino Chamber of Commerce. I know he's not here, but he does a lot.
I relate to this, I work with
Yeah,
him.
okay.
Anybody else in that, that's in the baby steps, but anybody else interested?
I can assist. I can be a resource.
Yeah, okay, great. Anybody else? I'm just trying to.
Gianna, another action item is I'm working with the Parks and Recreation to compile a joint list
Nice.
of resources.
So that's joint resources. And who are you working with there?
Working their name.
It's not Paula, is it?
Paula.
And one thing to point out about, what Latonia was talking about earlier, and Daryl, the 211, it also can be called by zip code, right?
It can be coded any way that you want to code it. You can break down. What 211 is an electronic version of the old United Way book that we used to hand out with all of the agencies and program information. It's an online accessible database, and you can actually go in and personalize it with the information you want to have in it and create your own PDF document. So that's what Gianna's talking about. And I actually do a training on that as well, on 211.
Okay.
I just did one recently at STIC. So if there's an organization or a group that would like us to come and do a presentation, we're more than happy to come share that information.
And the reason the task force eventually learned about this great resource is because we had all been sitting around the table saying, well, we want to know, what schools and what parks and what, mom and pop shops are in Six Corners. I'd love to know who, what all faith-based organizations and, the people that aren't on kind of the big radar, like the Dunbars and the YMCA's, who can I go to if, some of my kids need haircuts and they can't afford it. I want to know, hey, what's the local barber shop? So we had talked a lot about that, and we'd even gotten to the point of having this Google document, and only half of you could access it, and the other half couldn't, so that turned into a mess. But the concept behind it is that we want to, like Armando and many of you guys were saying, we want to collaborate, we want to work together, and we know that, Six Corners might have some of the same stuff going on as Indian Orchard. And if we had this kind of one central location for all of these resources that we could tap into, then hey, wouldn't that be great? And then Latonia was here and she said, well, 211, it does that.
After 4 meetings, I figured it out.
So that's just another, again, an example of, the kind of stuff that comes out of these meetings. And now we're at the stage of taking actions once we learn about the shared information and the resources. So, again, your task force.
If the task force is interested, I can get you a list of all the fitness centers that people can use the reimbursement side. And also provide you with a more
Smart of you. Can you email us that?
Yes.
Thank you.
List of health centers. Okay. I'm just looking through the notes to see if there's anything.
Yeah, can I make a plea very quickly? We're working on our day of hearing. I don't know if you all are familiar with day of hearing, but day of hearing is something that the United Way sponsors every year. We get over 1,000 volunteers from companies to go into agencies. They do painting projects, cleanup, landscaping, anything you could think of that can be done on one day, they'll do it. And right now, we're starting to open up for agencies and companies that would like to participate, particularly agencies. I need as many as I can to get some, have volunteers go somewhere. So if you know of any agencies that needs assistance, that may or may not work with us, we'd be more than happy to get, please take them in touch with me, and Gianna has my information. Also, Stuff the Bus is another program that we do in July and August where we collect school supplies and backpacks for children that are homeless. And Springfield, West Springfield, Chicopee, Westfield, and South Hadley. And look, I think that's it. Yeah, I think I go. Holyoke too. And so if, you know, if anyone's interested in getting more information about that or participating, again, I'm the woman for the job. Thank you.
I'm gonna put there, say, Marion. Is anybody here involved with the Forest Park event that's happening tomorrow? Hilda?
I went to some meeting, it wasn't a very big group, but they need grills donated for tomorrow night, so if anybody knows, or if you bring some canned grills, whatever, so they can borrow from 4 to 7 actually. And they're gonna have face painting, hot dogs and hamburgers, I'm assuming, very basic. DJ music, games, raffles, and they're looking just for people to back on. So I'm putting up a table just with the construction side and the volunteer side. I might bring some information for possible homeowners, but mostly just to give the kids an idea of things they can do as volunteers. Right now, we don't have any established programs for kids under 16, but something that we've been talking about at the office anyway, so.
Okay, great, so 4 to 7?
4 to 7.
4 to 7 tomorrow night, Forest Park Middle School, it's right on the grounds of the middle school.
Yes.
And I think if you were to show up and you had information about, you know, like if Claire went over there with the Power Up flyers, I'm certain that they would be happy
Oh, yes.
to hand them out. And if you happen to have a grill, bring your grill, bring your grill.
All I know is when I called about a table, they said they had a limited number of tables, so if you show up with flyers, you might want to show up with a little thing.
Or bring a basket, or a backpack,
Yes.
just pull it out. Okay, that's all great stuff. Anybody else have anything at this point that you need to share?
Being at the Peace Center, the Family Engagement Resource Specialist, one of the things you guys were mentioning, people don't know some of these organizations exist and stuff, so all parents within Springfield have to pass through the Peace Center to do any type of registration or address change. And as the resource specialist, my job is to provide them with the resources. So my email is on that form. If you could provide me with anything, I'll certainly get it out to the family that way as well.
And the calendar that you do is it just PACE specific?
Meaning like, can they go to other organizations to get?
Well, you have, you have, on your calendar that you create, it's just events that are at or coordinated by PACE.
Yes.
And Claire, you're working on a calendar, a broader scope calendar.
Yeah, of like things that people can get involved in, or like, you know, free programs or positive things that are happening throughout the summer months. The idea with the Power Up is to get, I don't know, kind of like start connecting and getting resources to this group, and to like keep up with them throughout the summer. And I want to provide them with a calendar of stuff that we already know is happening, or things that always happen every month. And so I'm just kind of compiling as many things as possible in one place.
And that actually is another action item, because at one point, again, the task force had said, you know, wouldn't it be great to have this one central calendar, and we will eventually have a website that will do that. And people were sending me stuff, and it was great, and I actually sent it out a couple of times. It just got overwhelming because then people were sending flyers and, you know, and all sorts of different stuff. And so if anybody, especially, you know, our people who are working with youth, you know, if you have youth that need to donate a couple of hours of their time, you know, even just assembling that calendar so that we can send it out, because it just became, it's a great tool and it's a great idea. We just need to figure out how to make it happen, you know. We've got a PACE-specific calendar. We have a task force calendar that we're sending stuff to. Claire's working on a calendar. We know that it's a good idea. We tried to do an interactive one on a website. Again, it was Google maybe, but it was just the access for some people. So we know we want to have that happen. We just need support. You know, we need somebody to say, hey, I can donate, 2 hours a month or 4 hours a month, whatever it ends up being, to just assembling this calendar and distributing it, because it would be a valuable resource, especially for planning. We've talked about this already. Like when we want to plan our Springfield Unites for June 17th, but somebody else has, the Mason Square Health Initiative, Family Day going on. We're pulling from all the same resources and the same pools, and we don't want to do that. So I don't see too many hands go up around that one, so we'll put that, down as we'll table that one. Okay, folks, it's 4:29. Feel free to stick around and network with each other, because there's a lot of new faces here.